Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today is Christmas in July, day 20. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, I'm a medical coder. This year for Christmas in July, I am sharing my personal stories as a brand new medical coder and some stories about myself. So I hope you all enjoy the series and let us begin. Today's episode, I am going to be talking about a trip that I took to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan to a town called Marquette, Michigan. So here we go. All right, Michigan. I have quite a few friends from Michigan, and they all tease me, and they tell me the same thing. Blue, you could never handle being here during the wintertime. I would not want to be there with all of that snow. I had my fill of snow earlier this year. Back in February, us Texans were hit with a very horrible snowstorm. And I don't ever want to go through something like that again. But I know that Michiganders deal with that quite frequently, and large volumes of snow. I've seen the pictures and I've seen their markers, like, how high the snow gets. Yeah, no, I'll pass on that. And I will be the first to admit it, and I'll be happy to admit it, that I am a wimp when it comes to that level of severe cold. But I had been encouraged for many years to take a trip up there just to see what the Upper Peninsula is like. There's lots of really wonderful things to do up there. There's so many free activities. I could not believe how many free things you can do while you're up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. The people are incredibly friendly. I loved being there. They all made me feel very welcome, and I I don't look like a Michigander at all, and I don't sound like a Michigander either. So a few of the locals had fun asking me where was I from. So the reason that I took this trip was there are times that I think when you travel, that it's a restorative thing. It restores you, and there's something about leaving your home area, right? And just going out and exploring something new and seeing something new and going to a place that is so different from where I am. It was really just the thing that I needed at the time. And going to Marquette, I was able to fly in because they have their own airport, right? And I had rented a car, and I stayed for a whole week, right? So I had really planned down because I had AAA at the time. So I had a lot of resources from AAA, and I planned down my trip, all the things that I wanted to do. And I had rented a car, like I said, and I was able to just go anywhere and everywhere. I stayed in a really nice hotel that had a restaurant next to it that had really good food, right? I didn't stay like on the waterfront, but it was nice enough. I mean, I could still see from my hotel, but it was a nice drive. And I got very familiar right away with the streets. So I was calmer when I know my way around. It calms me down, right? I always do land nav. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know what I do, right? I always check out the area. I think that is really important when you're orientating yourself to a new place. And being up in Michigan, this was in the early part of summer, so it was May. It was around May that I took this trip, and there was still chunks of ice in the lake. So when you can imagine my shock, right? When I'm leaving the airport and I'm driving and I'm going towards my hotel, and I pass by the lake and I see these huge chunks of ice just chilling out, in the lake, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, they weren't kidding when they said that it gets freezing cold here. I was like, wow. So the week that I'm there, I spent a lot of time driving around. I would literally get up about 7 o'clock and leave the hotel, and I would just drive. I would go have breakfast, of course, somewhere, and I would check out just different things that I had already planned. There were so many, like, art things that I enjoyed seeing, and I went to a casino, and it was just like this building, but it was fun. It was still fun anyway. And what else did I do? I went to the beach. which the beach was an experience, right? So when you go to the beach in Michigan, you're not going there, at least in my mind, with a bathing suit because it is still really cold. But I did have to be able to say that I had stuck my feet in the water at least, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, this water's gonna be so cold. And of course, there's a few people out there, but they're like family groups and stuff like that. And so I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go over here, and I'm walking in the sand. And this was such soft sand too. It's not powdery sand like you get in Hawaii, but it's still that soft sand. It's like very soft, like almost, it's like one of those kinetic sand things. That's what it felt like to me, right? So I'm walking in this, and I of course I'm walking barefoot, and I can feel like the ground getting softer because, you know, I'm going towards the water. And I was just like, ooh, and I see somebody on one of those ice chunks, and they're like posing to take a picture. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. No, Blue will stay on on the shoreline, but I will not risk being out there, you know, on one of those ice chunks. But yeah, they were out there taking pictures. So I was like, yeah, no, that's not me. I'll enjoy watching you guys. So I stuck my feet in the water. Of course, the water is freezing cold because it's like literally sticking your feet in ice water. But I sat down for a little while, and I just enjoyed the sound of the lake. And just like you could hear the birds and everything. And there was something in that moment that was incredibly peaceful. And the air was very crisp. And I know people say that air can be crisp, and I never truly understood what crisp air meant until I went to Marquette. And so when I'm just sitting there and I'm just like listening to these birds flying around, and everybody's just so chill and relaxed. It's not a crowded beach. There's like plenty of space, like totally like a lot of space between people. And I'm just sitting there like, I would love, one of my personal goals in life is to write a book as one of my personal goals. Whether it's write a book about myself or write a fiction story, one of my goals is to write a book. And I've always wanted to go to like a cabin in a place like Michigan and the UP in Marquette and just write for a month and just do nothing but write, get up and write, and just finish a novel or finish a book or whatever. And just be like, oh yeah, I sent the final book to the publisher, and they're going to be reading it. Oh, I sent it to my editor, and they're going to check it out and send it back to me if they need to do any revisions. But, you know, I always wanted to do that. Just having that, some like experience like that. So being on the beach that day and thinking about that, I was like, I would love to come back here. I would love to spend more time in Michigan. I would love to just come here for weeks, like a couple of weeks, just to relax, only like in the summer and in temperatures where I feel okay. But yeah, not getting snowed in. But just being up there when it's nice, I think would be good for me. And I think that having that time to be creative and to really kind of listen to your creativity and take that time to give yourself that freedom to do whatever you want to do. And that was the whole point of this trip, was to do things that I wanted to do and just be free to do it. And so after being at the beach, which surprisingly, this area did not have mosquitoes, but I did go to another lake and it did have mosquitoes. I was like, yeah, no, I can't do this one. The other one was much nicer. So anyway, I went to this, it was an art thing. It's like you drive through it, and they had all kinds of welded sculptures. So that was really cool, and I still have a lot of those pictures. Let's see, what else did I do? Then I went to, I did have to send out a package while I was up there. So one of the towns that's next to Marquette is Ishpeming. So if you've ever watched the movie Catfish, right, with Neve Schulman, right, he was up there in the movie, right, and that's how Catfish got started, right? It was because he got catfished by this older woman who was pretending to be somebody else, and they were talking and having messages back and forth and stuff. And she lived in Ishpeming. So I did, like I said, I had to ship out a package. So I went to Ishpeming on purpose just to ship out this package, number one, because I was able to ship something, right? And it's just, it has a stamp on it from Ishpeming. And so I drove around the town, and it was so neat because even though I didn't quite see where they had filmed the show, but I just being there, I was like, wow, this is this is where they, they met and stuff like that. And this is a big movie. It was a big movie, and of course it's an MTV show. And so just having that experience, I was like, oh, this is neat. Let's see. And I went to the Upper's Tourist Trap. So if you haven't ever heard of the Upper's Tourist Trap, they said it's the biggest tourist trap ever. And they have all of these really fun things out there. I liked it. I was totally all over the store. And I just enjoyed shopping the entire time I was there. I was taking pictures, and they have this marker, this measurement thing that tells you how much it has snowed. And this thing is very tall. And it tells you like the snow gauge, and I was like, yeah, no, I can't be up here during that time. But any other time, yeah, I would totally be down. The one thing that I didn't get to do, which I've always wanted to go back and do, was see pictured rocks. Very beautiful. And I always see the pictures on it all the time. And I follow a lot of the pages on Facebook for the Upper Peninsula, and they're always showing pictures. And when I get up in the morning, one of the pages that I follow is for Marquette. And so a photographer, or it's just like a group of them, they take pictures of the sunrise. So it's always really nice to see those sunrise pictures. And this place is just, it's not huge, but there's something special about it. And I don't know if it's just the energy or just like the peace that I felt going there. It was like when it was time for me to leave, and I had to go back, and even though I had been driving all over the place in this rental car, I think I put a good amount of miles on it. I can't even remember now. But I put a good amount of miles on that rental, and I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay, and I was just like, sometimes when you go on a trip, you're excited to go. You're excited to get there. You're excited to experience everything. But then sometimes by the end of your trip, you're just ready to go home. You're ready, and you want to go back home. You want to go back to the real world. Not this trip. I wanted to stay. And I was like, wow, this is an awesome place. It's some place that I would definitely come back to, and I definitely do want to go back. And once all these travel things go back to normal fully, I will definitely plan a trip out there. But it was so worth it. And just picking just a place where it's not, you would think that it's not something so glamorous, right? Because it's not like New York or going to Vegas or something where this was some place that was new and unexplored to me. So yeah, that was one of my favorite trips. One of my future favorite trips would probably be to go somewhere in Montana or Wyoming, because while I have been through the state of Wyoming, I have never stayed and visited someplace. Same thing with Montana. But I've never been to Montana at all. I've never passed through it. I've never been there. And I know they say there's nothing, but there's like ranches and stuff like that you can go to and visit and stuff. Something like that would be fun, I think. I would totally do that. And just to see what it's like there. So anyway, but yes, when I have my travel bug, I do that. I just pick up and I go somewhere, so anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up, but thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you'll hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like this Share this if you're interested in sharing all of my Christmas in July stories. So I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.